Hi everyone, my name's Pieta Valentine. I've written 2 books, The Resident's Voice from a Dementia Unit and The Resident's Rise from a Dementia Unit. Today's session is on 2 years in to a wife visiting her husband in a dementia facility. The wife being Winifred, the husband being Doug, both in their early 80s, Doug having Alzheimer's disease, and, the happenings at the unit 2 years on. So Winifred regularly comes Tuesdays and Thursdays, Tuesdays for the movie at the unit, Thursdays bingo, Saturdays her and her friend Anne take Doug out for the lovely big beach walk at Sumner. They've been doing that for the whole 2 years, amazingly, and they have their support group on a Sunday for the women at the unit and the men's group, support group, which has been going so well. And you do the baking and does the tea and coffee, and you have lots of lovely activities and jigsaw puzzles and lovely coffee book tables for men, tractors, trains and the like. And it's been quite a success, and you've been using all your creative energy for that, and you've found that you've got quite a talent for it, actually, making this lovely shortbread, and scones being the favourite, and the way you deck it out, and being a gardener, bringing in flowers for the middle of the table. It's become quite a thing, and you've enjoyed it. Anyway, all this has been happening for the 2 years. Now, in terms of Doug's walking, his balance has been okay-ish, because he walks out in the garden outside. Thankfully, this dementia facility has quite a good garden outside, enclosed area, which he walks in a lot. So the balance reactions, walking on the grass and all of that, he's maintained fairly well, but still not the same as if you were outside walking. Even though he does do walks outside with me twice a week as well, after bingo and the movie, still not quite the same anyway, and of course getting older. So when Anne and I were taking him to the beach, there were 1 or 2 times, most of the time he was good, fine, but 1 or 2 times when he tripped, fortunately, on the beach itself with the sand not veering towards the concrete. But we sort of managed to half get him before he fell, and under the elbow, and none of us got injured. He managed to get up okay. But still, it wouldn't have been good if it was on concrete, no. We didn't tell anyone about it. We thought, never mind, whatever. But we were still quite careful to stand in by him close. We actually started taking an elbow each side after that. Anyway, still it went fine. We did that for 2 years, those walks on Sumner Beach, and going to have the pizza and coffee afterwards. It was so enjoyable for all of us, each of us. But towards the end of the second year, after, the very end of the second year, what happened was, sadly, Doug did trip. He must have tripped over it could be anything, couldn't it be? A shoe someone's thrown in the middle of the hallway, or a walker, or, any object can be anywhere. I don't know what it was. It was in the kitchen. Maybe it was a cup or something, or maybe slippery water. Maybe the cleaner had cleaned it, and, it was a bit, water had been spilt or something, but yeah, commonly that can happen. But anyway, dear Doug, he's tripped. Fractured hip, right hip, not good. So he had to go to the hospital, Anyway, they did rehabilitation at Hillmorton Hospital, but he didn't come right. The strength of his legs didn't come back, and he wasn't able to be independent enough to be able to do transfers, which is what you need to be at a dementia unit. You have to be able to transfer independently from, sitting to standing, standing to sitting, lying to standing. And he just couldn't do that. His legs, he's got long legs, long thighs, and his strength of his, because he'd had the fractured hip and the surgery, and it was painful as well, he couldn't get the strength back. So, he couldn't get himself off the toilet, or, and he'd be stranded, and staff don't have time to sort of run around. You have to be able to get off the toilet yourself independently in a dementia unit. That's just one of the requirements, and he just couldn't do it. So sadly, he had to go to the hospital. Yeah, and then during all this, he got a chest infection, which never seemed to leave him, and he was always coughing and got pneumonia, and excuse me. Yeah, it sort of went downhill. And so he went to the hospital, and that was such a different environment, you know, completely and utterly different to the dementia facility. It was not far from the dementia facility. It was in the same village, but, you know, some of the girls we both actually knew because they cared both at the hospital and the dementia facility, you know, split shifts, and that was good. That was the good part, but everything else, to me, from my perspective, everyone was sick, you know, sick, like really sick, you know, like deathly sick, whatever conditions, strokes you could see, and, you know, they looked emaciated and no life and no energy and no fun and no anything. Oh, I'm not good with that side of it. I mean, there was always fun at the dementia unit and liveliness. I mean, there was anger, which was not good, and, you know, lots of goings on, but at least there was some spirit in the place and you could talk and have a bit of fun. But I didn't find that at this hospital, not at all. So that was a huge change. I mean, obviously a huge change for Doug, but just as much I felt for me, because now it was really more comforting Doug, you know, and I just preferred to just stay in the room with him, really, you know, rather than go to the lounge. It was much better on both of us, you know, and I just comfort him there. If he was either sitting, lying, I bought him a lovely his favourite green lazy boy, that's right, the green one came over. Yes, and he still had the lovely big picture of the farm that he loved, and he was quite happy in the lazy boy chair, either watching TV or looking at the farm, you know, which he always loved to do. So in that way, it was okay. But we just didn't go to the lounge, and I'd come visit him there, and sometimes, you know, just take my trusty books, read my book. And he was fine with me just being there, and he didn't really want to converse that much now because he was in pain and he was unwell with his chest infection, and it was really just better that I just sat there quietly and read the book. So that's how it all changed, you know, as it does in dementia facilities. You know, you've been going along well for 2 years, day by day, fine, and then boom, you get a fractured hip and it all changes. But so we had to adjust to that, and I could see that Doug was going downhill and was sort of preparing myself for the future, and, you know, how that would be. But I felt that, you know, it would be okay because I had my friend Anne. We still were fit enough to go out, you know, for walks and coffees and things, and I had my books, and I loved going to the library to get books. It was just a walk away. That was my big friend. Reading is the best friend in the world as far as I'm concerned, aside from Anne, who's fantastic. And anyway, my son Bob, even though he doesn't visit Doug much with me, if there's anything that goes wrong around the house, like the plumbing blocks or anything else happens, he'll come quite quickly for that sort of thing and help out. He's good at that side of it. So maybe not so good at all the other side in terms of visiting and supporting, but he's good at, if there's a practical problem, he'll turn up and fix it, which is great when you're a elderly woman living on your own. So my network, I felt, you know, for the future, come what may, whatever happened, I'd be able to manage. And, you know, I felt that we'd done our best at the dementia unit, helping out there with, you know, the support group that we'd established. And at least that went on for nearly 2 years to help out the other men there with the men's shed and the cooking and the baking and the activities and things that we did. And so I felt quite resigned in myself. And I could see that Doug was fine. I mean, he wasn't fine because he was so unwell, but in himself, emotionally, he was settled. You know, he felt my support. Well, he knew that I was there, his support. I mean, I always had been. So, you know, the nurses were caring for him well. He liked his main carer. And so, you know, as life goes on, we just adjusted to that. So really, that's the end of this video because, you know, so thank you for your likes and your subscriptions and comments. I really appreciate that. And please pass on links to others affected in this way by dementia. Thank you.